Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, Second City Sports. Today I decided I'm going to rank the entire Blackhawks prospect pool from worst to best. We're also going to be putting them into tiers. In order for a player to appear on this video, they have to be 23 or younger, and they have to have less than 50 NHL games. I think that's a pretty fair uh, rule to have for this. I also just want to say that the individual number that they're given, like if one prospect is 4 and one prospect is number 5, that there isn't a huge gap there. I think the tiers are honestly more important. So like if I have a prospect as like an A tier, I think that's more important than them being number 7 or number 8 on my list, if that makes sense. So anyway, we're going to get into it right now. Make sure you like the video if you like this content. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Share it with all your friends, all that good YouTube stuff, and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start off with the D tier, and just to give a quick explanation to which each tier kind of represents. So, D tier is players who probably either won't sign or won't ever really find a place in the NHL. C tier is guys who could probably be depth players in the NHL, like that's like their ceiling. Uh, B tier is like middle of the lineup players, and then A tier is like top of the lineup players, and S tier is basically the best prospects we have in the system. So that's just a quick little explanation. I think it probably makes sense. It's not that hard to figure out. But anyway, the lowest rated prospect I have in the Blackhawks system is Parker Holmes. Parker, he was our fourth round pick this year, 107th overall. Uh, One goal in 21 games in the OHL. They picked him apparently because he's a bit of a goon, and not in the fun way. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't think he'll ever really have an impact in the NHL level. I don't even think, honestly, that he'll sign. But, you know, it's the fourth round, I guess. They didn't really value that pick that much, and they decided we're going to take a shot on this kid. Maybe he turns out to be better this season, and we all kind of get a little hype, but I highly doubt it. So there are some things with him. You know, he is 6'4". He is willing to fight and stuff like that, be physical. So maybe someday he can sneak his way into like an AHL role or maybe ECHL role or something like that. But I don't really ever see him being like a player for the Blackhawks. So then moving on to number 34, we have Jani Peltonen. He's currently playing in Liga, so Finland and stuff like that. He was a seventh round pick. Again, a guy who I don't think will really sign. Um, you know, he's just kind of a whatever player. If he works out, he works out. He does have some size. He's 6'3". You know, and again, he was a seventh round pick. At that point, you're pretty much just taking a swing at a player that they liked, and you never know. Maybe some point he'll sign again. Maybe AHL, ECHL type player, but I doubt it. I personally think he'll probably just stay in Finland for his career. Next up at 33, we have Ashton Cumby from the Seattle Thunderbirds. Again, we took him in this past draft in the sixth round, 162 overall. I like him a bit better than Parker Holmes, mostly just because he's played in the WHL for longer, so he's got a bit more experience at least. This season in the WHL, he played 68 games, scored 2 goals. Huge total. Huge total. You can see the potential already. 11 assists. The main thing with him is you can look at is his penalty minutes. He had 102 this year, so he's an aggressive player. Blackhawks this previous draft were really focusing on size and physicality, so they got their man here. I don't know if he's ever really going to play in the NHL, but you know, he's at least got a fun name. I'm sure Jamie Faulkner really likes him, so that's something. Then moving on to number 32, we have Rico Tolia. I think that's how you say it. I apologize if that's wrong. So Tolia plays center. He's 6'8", so he's very big. You know, again, kind of they clearly like these like big players. Seventh round pick in 2022. Um, he's playing for Yip in Liga. He's been loaned out and stuff to other teams as well. I don't see him ever coming over to North America, if I'm being honest with you. But you never know. Um, yeah, I know I'm kind of flying through like these D tier guys, but I don't think anybody's really gonna mind. Most of these guys are never gonna see the NHL, so it is what it is. Moving on anyway to I think number 31 we're at. We have Joel Sevenson. He's a 6'1" left winger slash center. He is also playing, or I'm sorry, he's playing in Sweden right now in the Allsvenskan. He's just, kind of an average player. He did play for Sweden's U20 teams at some points in the season, so that's pretty cool. Um, Again, I don't think he's really a guy who's ever going to come over to North America, but I like his skill a little bit better than I like the guy's. Not even his skill. I like his build better than some of the guys that came below him. Anyway, this is kind of again these are kind of the bottom of the barrel prospects. Most of these guys will never really see or hear about that much. So moving on, we have Dmitry Kuzmin, who a good friend of mine in the Ringside General Discord. You should go follow Ringside General as well. Cool dude. He describes him as he's Artem Levshinov's Belarusian alarm clock, and that's the main reason the Hawks have him. You know, he's a better player than a lot of the guys we've talked about so far. I don't think he's got NHL potential or anything like that, but he could be like a good player for Rockford for a decent bit of time. This past season in Rockford, he was a +3, 5 points in 30 games. So again, nothing special here, but he's solid. He's just an AHL player, and there's nothing wrong with being that. Especially considering they brought him in to basically just help Levshinov's development. So I'm fine with him being in the system until Levshinov's a full-time NHL player, and then he'll probably be released or something like that. So moving on to the next guy, we have Ryan Mast. This is going to be the last player in the D tier, so it's only up from here. Um, he's a big defender. We got him in a trade this offseason. I can't remember for what. I apologize for that, but he's again he's a career AHL ECHL guy. He's actually played more games in the ECHL so far in his career, but he is still young. He's 22 years old. I don't ever see him again being an NHL player, but it could be a solid ice hog for years to come. All right, so the 28th ranked prospect in the Blackhawks system, in my opinion, is Tage Harding. This is also where C tier is going to begin, so I'll put a little picture of the tier list so far and stuff. But Tage is an interesting player. Um, he's kind of like a borderline career AHLer, but I think he has a bit more upside than the others that we've gone over so far. He's 6'7", 236 pounds, so obviously that's being big helps. He does have some skill. Like Providence College, he was playing there this past season, 37 games, 2 goals, 12 assists. Is he going to be anything special? No, but I could see him almost turning into like what Louis Crevier has turned into, just like back end of the lineup, like big depth defenseman. It'll be interesting to see if he reaches that, but I think this is a fair spot to put him in. Next up, we have Ty Henry, who is an 18-year-old defenseman. He's 6'4" again. Blackhawks, they like big defensemen. He is actually like a pretty decent skater, so that is going to help him a lot. In the OHL this past season, he put up 17 points, which isn't that impressive by any means, but I think he does have a bit of a higher ceiling than, again, the guys in D tier. Could potentially be a depth defenseman in the NHL, or I think he'll be at the very least like a good player for Rockford. So I think that's a fair spot to put him, C tier. Then we have Yuri Felkman. Yuri is a physical center, 6'4". He's so far in his career, he's only played in Switzerland and the Czech leagues and stuff, or not even the Czech leagues. I'm sorry, for like Czech, he has like World Juniors team and stuff like that. He isn't the most impressive player, like stat wise, by any means, but I could see him being like a depth forward eventually if he decides to come over. And I think he is the kind of guy who will come over. He's a physical player that's good for your bottom six and stuff. So, um, again, these guys in C tier, these are guys who um, I think basically their ceiling is like depth players in the NHL, like bottom six or like healthy scratches and stuff like that. I think that's a fair place to put him. I think he's better than a lot of the guys in D tier, obviously. So I think C is fair. And again, like these prospects, like this is prospect number 26 in the system, so it's kind of hard to know a ton about them. Uh, but I think this is a fair spot. Next up, we have Paul Ludwinski, 25th overall prospect. Paul's an interesting one. I know a lot of people did not like this pick. I was kind of with it. I think it's just because he has a ski in his name, and I kind of root for guys with Polish ancestry. I don't know if he actually has Polish ancestry, but I would like to think he does. Uh, I mean, listen, he's fast. That's one of his main strengths. He kind of had a bad season in Rockford, to be honest with you, but he did play decently well in the playoffs, so that's something. Uh, we'll see how he does in his second year in Rockford. It might have just been he had a tough time transitioning from junior to pro. I don't have a ton of high hopes for him. I think his ceiling is like a fourth line center or like a fourth line winger even for the Blackhawks in the future. But I definitely think he's a guy that's worth keeping around in the system at the very least, just because of his skating and stuff like that, and his willingness to be like a grindy little player. One of the things that does work against him is his size. He's only 5'11", which is why I think it might make more sense to put him on the wing. But especially considering you want your depth players to be a little bit bigger. But still, I think he's a decent guy to still at least have in the system. See if you can get something out of him, and I think they will, considering he was a second round pick. Like they're not going to give up on him right away. So moving on, we have Aiden Thompson. I think some people will probably be surprised I have him this low. He was a third round pick in 2022. He's already 23 years old. And to be honest with you, I think they signed him to be like a Rockford player. But I do think he still has some NHL upside, hence why he's in C tier. One of the reasons I say that is basically any NCAA player they signed this past season got at least a couple of games in the NHL, and they just sent him straight to Rockford. He didn't play at all in the NHL, which I think kind of shows what they think of his ceiling and stuff like that. He did have a very good year for the University of Denver. He had 55 points in 44 games, but again, you know, that's a lot of that is due to, in the NCAA, if you're 22 or 23 years old, it's a big advantage playing against the 18-year-olds that are also in that division and stuff like that. So I'm not too high on him, but I think C tier is fair. Maybe a guy again who can potentially find a depth role at some point, but to be honest, I don't have very high hopes for him. Then moving on, we have Julius Schumpf. Sumpf. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say his name. He was a draft pick in this most recent class. We took him in the fourth round here. This is one like I was not a big fan of this draft that the Blackhawks did this past season, but I didn't hate this pick. One knock against him, he's already an overager. He's 20 years old, which sucks. I do like that he's committed to play for Providence College next season. I think that's a decent win for him. I think that's going to be a good step up in competition from the QMJHL, which he did very well. He played on the same team as Caleb Desnoyers, 65 points in 58 games. He was very good in the playoffs as well, 10 goals, 6 assists in 19 games. He's also, done good work for the German U20 team and stuff like that. Played his youth hockey in Austria. I think he's a decent player to take a shot on in the fourth round. He's a two-way player. He has some skill and stuff like that. He's got size. He's 6'2". I think he could potentially sneak his way into an NHL roster spot someday. He's just a smart player. Is everything I've read about him just indicates he's a very smart player. He's never going to be like the most aggressive player or like a star or anything like that. He's never going to put up a ton of points, but he could be a guy who could maybe even play on your penalty kill at some point. So I think he's a worthy addition in C tier. Then moving on, we have Gavin Hayes. I'm probably a lot higher on Gavin Hayes than a lot of people. I really like him. I think he's got a lot of potential, and he just needs a bit more time to figure it out. Uh, so obviously this year in Rockford, only 15 points in 50 games. But if you look at his junior career, he struggled with injuries, or not even really struggled with injuries, but the Flint Firebirds, I don't think they were ever a particularly good team. I guess his first year they were looking at his stats right now. They played 19 playoff games, so they had to be at least a little bit decent. But, uh, you know, again, I don't think he's ever going to be a top of the lineup player, but, he could potentially be a third or fourth line wing for you. Uh, he is a decent little player. He's got good hands. He's 6'1". He's not small. He does need, I think, to put on a little bit of weight. He's only 176 pounds at the moment, but decent little player. He's played for the U.S. U20 team and stuff like that. Didn't play a major role, but he did play for them. So I think he's worth hanging around in this. He's kind of like I think a slightly better version of Paul Ludwinski. I think he's a guy that's worth keeping around because he has put up some good performances in the past, and I think his second year in the AHL, he probably will improve quite a bit. And to round out C tier, we have Martin Misiak here. Misiak, to be honest, I haven't seen a ton of him, but just looking at his stats and going off that, and from what I've read about him and stuff, he does have some decent offensive potential. Nothing special like or anything crazy like that, but he can put up some points. This past season, again, he was a 20-year-old, so these stats are a little bit exaggerated. But 60 games, 59 points and stuff like that. Um, he can forward check and stuff like that. He's got size again, 6'2". Uh, I don't have a ton to say about him, to be honest, but I think putting him at the top of the C tier guys, I think that's fair. I like again these guys you can kind of rotate them into whatever order you want, especially like Woodwinski, Thompson, Smuff, Hayes, and Misiak. You could kind of switch their order around, and I wouldn't be able to really hate it. So that's going to round out our C tier. All right, so in 20th place and starting out our B tier, we're going to go with Nathan Bem. Bem, it was. I think some people might be surprised I have him this high. He was our third round pick this season. But I really like him. I think he has a lot of upside for what he is. So his first full season in the WHL 23-24, 68 games played, 31 points. This season, in 59 games played only, he jumped up to 66 points. Um, obviously points aren't the end-all, be-all and stuff, but, I think he could be a decent offensive player in the NHL, like maybe a good like middle sixer. I think putting him at the bottom of B tier is pretty fair. I could see some people putting him lower, some people maybe even having him a little bit higher, but I think this is a good starting point for him as a prospect. Moving on to number 19, we have Nolan Allen. So Allen and some of the guys in this tier have some NHL experience, but they have less than 50 games and stuff like that. Allen, I think, kind of hurt his stock at the end of the year. He kind of struggled at the end of the season after a decent start as a Blackhawk. I still think he has some upside to him, and maybe this was just a little bit of a bump in the road, but I think definitely there's some prospects that have passed him in our system because of that. But still, I think B tier is pretty fair for him. Next up, we have Colton Dach. Kind of same story as Nolan Allen. I think just some other prospects have passed him over at this point. But he did, for the most part, play okay in the NHL. He had some games where he kind of was non-existent and got lost, but that was pretty much everybody in the Hawks, to be fair. Uh, I still think he could be a good physical player, like a middle six player, or maybe even a bottom six player in the NHL. I'm just not sure if that's going to happen in Chicago. This season, as for the Blackhawks, he played 25 games, had 7 points. So not terrible return for your first little stint in the NHL. Didn't do much for Rockford in the playoffs, but had a good season for them overall. So still a decent prospect. I just think maybe some other players have passed them. Next up, we have Jack Pridham. So Pridham is a bit of an interesting case. Elite Prospect still has him listed as going to Boston University, but I'm pretty sure he decommitted to stay with the Kitchener Rangers next season. But still, Kitchener, I think he's just going to be a really good two-way player in the NHL. He's a good skater. Um, he put up some decent points. 54 points in 48 games. It's nothing to sneeze at in the OHL. He had a good playoff run for them as well. Was nearly point per game in that. So I think he's definitely got a future in the NHL. Pretty much everybody in B tier is a guy that I expect will at least get some NHL game time at some point during their career. So I think there's some decent upside here with Pridham. Next up, we have John Mustard. Mustard, he's kind of similar to Pridham, like same sort of tier of player. He's a bit more of a shooter than Pridham is. Like this season in the NCAA, he's already playing NCAA hockey, which is a nice little bonus. So 37 games played, 7 goals, 13 assists, 20 points. That's a pretty good freshman season for a guy who was a third round pick by the Hawks in 2024. So yeah, he's a decent little player. He's very quick. Again, the Blackhawks, they like two things. They like either super tall players or they like super quick players. So he fits both those molds. I could definitely see him playing in the NHL in the future. Then we have Landon Slaggert. So Slaggert with the Hawks, I was pretty impressed with him, mostly just for his skating and like his forechecking and effort and stuff like that. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that's going to put up a ton of points or goals and stuff like that, but I could see him being like a penalty guy, like a forechecking, like hustle forward, if that makes sense. Also, he went to Notre Dame, which is a little bit of a bonus for me because I'm a Notre Dame football fan. I don't really watch the hockey team, but still pretty cool. This season in Rockford, he had 25 points in 39 games before getting called up to the NHL. I just realized he probably shouldn't be on this list. I think he has more than 50 games. Oh wait, no, he's one short. He's got 49 games of NHL experience, so he just made the list. So yeah, he could stay in the video. Thank God, I don't have to redo this audio. So that's pretty sweet. But yeah, I definitely like his like effort levels and his skating and stuff like that. I could see him being like a middle or bottom 6'4", kind of similar role to Doc going forward. So next up we have Ryan Green. Green I liked a lot. He got like a little, I think it was a 2-game cameo at the end of the season. Yeah, 2 games. He didn't put up any points or anything, but he was noticeable out there. So he played 3 seasons in the NCAA, which definitely helps. So NCAA, in my opinion, is the best league for like development after you've been drafted, and you can definitely tell he's improved a lot. So his freshman year in the NCAA, 31 points. Next season, 36. Next season, 38. So I could see him potentially being like a middle six center, maybe even like the second line center at times, depending on how other guys develop and stuff like that. He's definitely got some playmaking ability, puck handling. So yeah, I think he's a really solid prospect to have. Uh, Moving on, we have Samuel Savoy. I fucking love Samuel Savoy, and a lot of Blackhawks fans do. Uh, he is just a fucking menace on the ice, and he is built for playoff hockey. Like, when the Hawks are good, this guy's going to be such a fucking pain in the ass for other teams. The only knock against him is he's a little bit undersized. He's only 5'10", but he doesn't play like it. He's like kind of like Frank Nazar. Like, that's a knock on Nazar as well. Like, I saw this one idiot on Twitter call like Nazar and Bedard midgets, but I'm like, dude, Nazar does not play small, and neither does Samuel Savoy. Just a super, super physical, forechecking energy player. I think he's almost like just a slightly better version of Landon Slaggert, and I think he's going to be a menace eventually for the Blackhawks and stuff like that. He does have a bit of, like, if you look at his QMJHL stats, he did go like point per game his last 2 seasons. I'm sorry, he was 1 point short of going point per game. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Samuel Savoy, and it's the same case with our next guy, AJ Spellici. Spellici is just, I mean, look, he's a two-sport athlete. He was playing football and stuff like that. Just a monster physically. Uh, Very good skater as well, which is kind of surprising. You would think, like, with the football background, maybe the skating's a bit lacking, but no, he's a very good skater. Just super physical player, physical beast. That's the best way to describe his game. He almost like made the Blackhawks out of camp, which nobody was expecting last year. Uh, It'll be interesting to see how he performs at camp this year. I don't think they would bring him on the team. I think they want him to play another year in junior and stuff like that. I would not be surprised though if he ends up making the U.S. World Junior team. I think he could be a very good presence for that team, especially considering this is a it seems like a bit of a down year for the U.S. Talent pool. So you could definitely see a guy like Spalacy making the team. And then rounding out the B tier prospects, we have Ethan Del Maestro, or Del Mastro, I'm sorry. Uh, Del Mastro, I think he was one of the most impressive players like for the Hawks last season. There was lots of players on the Hawks where you would watch them and you would get kind of nervous, like that they're gonna fuck up soon. Del Mastro, I don't really remember ever having one of those moments. Now, I don't think he's like the most spectacular player ever, but I could definitely see him being like a fourth, maybe fifth defenseman on like a good team in the NHL at some point in his career. He's still got some things to work on. Like I think he could do a little bit better with distributing the puck and decision making and stuff like that. But I think that'll come with more experience and stuff. But yeah, and he's a physical player too. Great reach with his stick. You know, he's 6'4", 209. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Del Maestro. I think he's going to be a long-term player for the Hawks. In my opinion, I think the Hawks are going to have like the best decor in the league in a few years. I think it could be like, you know, Vlasic, uh, Levshin, or probably yeah, probably Vlasic, Levshinov, and then Korchinski with Sam Renzel. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember his name for half a second there. And then I think Del Maestro would be a great fifth option there. You know, obviously Corch still has some things to work on. He's not going to be on this list just because he's played too many games. But you know, if Corch can figure it out, then I think this team's blue line is going to be the best in the league in a few years. And that's going to round out our B tier. So I'll put a little picture up on the screen for you now, and we will move on to the A tier prospects. So kicking off A tier, the 10th overall prospect in the Blackhawks prospect pool, we have Mason West. So West was the 29th pick of the 2025 draft. He's a 6'6" forward. He's listed as a center and a winger. So we don't really have a position for him yet, but he's a very good skater despite his size. He can play both ways of the ice, and he does have a bit of a physical presence to him. I think he definitely has some skill upside as well. It's going to be interesting to see how he develops because he is still going to play his senior year of college football, and he's going to play another year in the USHL. He's committed to Michigan State in 2026, so that's probably where he'll end up next. Definitely a very raw prospect, but I definitely think the upside is there. He wasn't the pick I would have made this year of the draft. I kind of preferred like a Malcolm Spence or a Lakovic, who went like a couple picks before him. But you could have taken that guy instead of Nesterstill and probably got a Nesterstill here. But you know, we're not going to hold that against him long term. He is a decent prospect, and I think he could definitely turn out very well. Definitely a risky pick, but we'll see how it goes. Excuse me. Next up in number 9, we have Merrick Van Acker. Van Acker is an interesting one. Again, a lot of people said this pick was a reach at the time. Still might be. He started off the year hurt. I think he missed like a first quarter of the season. Almost, yeah, basically the first quarter of the season. But he came back and he played pretty well. 42 points in 45 games. Obviously, his numbers were down from the year before. He was point per game the year before with 82 points. This year, only 42 and 45. but you can kind of excuse that because he was coming back from a pretty major injury, and he played well in the OHL playoffs for Brantford and stuff. Um, I definitely like his game. I don't know where he's really fits in, like ceiling wise, but I think again he's just going to be a guy who's going to be a good NHL player at some point. Good like smart hockey player, good forechecker, stuff like that. Can take advantage, read situations very well. So I think this is a good spot for him. Then moving on, we have Vaclav Nestrasil, another big forward, 6'6" right winger. Very physical player, but he also has some skill to go along with it. He's playing in the USHL at the moment, and he will probably play for the University of Massachusetts at some point. I like him a lot. Played very well, especially in the playoffs in the USHL. Was nearly point per game. Again, kind of like Mason West, he's a very raw prospect, but definitely a lot of upside, a lot of physical upside, especially. So uh, I like him a lot. Then moving on, we have Roman Kantsarov. Kantsarov is kind of the opposite of the players we had before here. So Nestrasil and West, both big guys, physical players. Roman Kantsarov, uh, undersized, definitely 100%. He's only 5'9", 176 pounds, but you know, plays a very good two-way game. He's got a good offensive game. He's playing in the KHL and stuff as well, which is awesome. Playing against in what's probably the second best league in the world outside of the NHL and stuff like that. 38 points in 47 games, so he improved a lot from the year before, where he only had 15 points in 53 games. He's looking like he's going to be a definite player for the Hawks at some point. The one thing with him, he doesn't want to play in the AHL at any point. He decided not to sign this year, or I think he still had a contract with Magnitogorsk, so he couldn't sign this year. Probably will sign after this current season and join the team. Hopefully he gets like a little bit of a cameo if Magnitogorsk goes out early in the KHL playoffs or something, but still, definitely one for the future here. Two-way game, like him a lot. Sorry if I'm talking a little fast. I'm trying to get this video done finally. But moving on, we got Nick Lardis. I like Nick Lardis a lot. Obviously, we all know the deal with him. 71 goals in the OHL this year, crazy total. But again, played well in the playoffs as well. There's more to his game than just the offense and stuff like that. Definitely still need. I think he's definitely going to start in the AHL. He needs to kind of work on his situational awareness and like his defense and stuff like that. But I think there's enough there where you could definitely see him being like a key player for the Hawks moving forward, and I like him a lot for those reasons. At number 5, we have Sasha Boisvert. Boisvert is one of the more popular prospects on Blackhawks Twitter. His dad actually follows me on Twitter, so shout out to Jimmy Boisvert if he's watching this video and stuff. But had a very good year at the University of North Dakota, very good freshman season, 32 points in 37 games. He's moving to Boston University, so going to a little bit of a stronger school in my opinion, especially considering North Dakota's going through a bit of a rebuild at the moment. Yeah, I like him a lot. He's got a good shot. He's pretty like a decently physical player. I think he does have some stuff to work on. He said that he definitely wants to play center in the NHL. There's some thought that he might move to the wing. But if he can improve like on his two-way game a little bit, not that he's a bad two-way player or anything like that, but could definitely see him sticky at center. Just it's a matter of what role ends up being best for him. But I'm very excited for his future with the Blackhawks. And then to close out A tier before we move into S tier, which is the really top prospects, we have Oliver Moore. I'm a big fan of Oliver Moore. I really liked him in the 9 games we got to see of him, and I liked watching him at the World Juniors and stuff like that. He's super fast, hardworking. Definitely needs to work a little bit on like his puck handling and his decision making with the puck and stuff like that. There's a lot of times where he just kind of just like skates himself into a situation he can't really get out of, but I think a little bit more pro experience will definitely help with that. Also, just watching him at the World Juniors, like people were complaining, like, oh, he didn't put up a lot of points at the World Juniors. That's because they were using him in the role that he's best at. Like he is going to be an elite defensive forward, just because of the speed and his ability to like break up plays and stuff like that. I am very excited for his future. I think he's going to start this season in Rockford, probably get like the Frank Nazar treatment, like a month or two in Rockford, and then he's going to end up in the NHL roster. So very excited for him. Excited to see what we're going to get out of him this year. And that's going to round out A tier. We're going to move on to S tier shortly. Alright, so now to finish off this video, we're just going to talk about the S tier guys. Pretty much everybody knows who these guys are. We'll just do this really quickly. So starting off, third place, I'm going to give it to Anton Frondell. So I have Sam Rinzel and Lev Shinov ahead of him still, but I'll go over why in a second. Frondell, great shot. Definitely has some things to work on, especially in transition. I think Victor Eklund definitely helped him a lot with his SHL team. Sorry, this last season they were Allsvenskan, now they're SHL. So let's just clear that up really quick. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to be excited with him. Physical, great shot again, like I just said. Decent defensive player, and I think playing in Sweden against grown adults definitely helps too. Again, the main thing he has to work on is his transition game. He kind of struggles. He's better. Uh, he's almost the equivalent of like in the NBA of like a guy who stands in the corner but then just knocks down threes. Like that's kind of been his game. Like he's good away from the puck. I think he needs to get a little bit better on the puck, but the shot's definitely there. There's a lot of things to be excited about with him, and we'll see how he grows. I think it's pretty much confirmed at this point he's going to be returning back to Sweden next season, but he'll probably come to the Blackhawks like the year after, maybe even at the end of this current season and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. Number two, I have Sam Rinzel. Listen, he just came up at the end of last season and was like almost immediately one of the best players on the team, arguably the best player in the games that he played. There's so much to be excited about with his skating, his decision making. Like he looked like he had already played 10 years in the NHL in his 9-game stint. Only thing I can say is I hope he's been doing a lot of shoot in practice because that was the one thing that was missing. He could have probably had like 3 or 4 goals, and he just kept either hitting the post or missing the net or sometimes passing out of an open shot, which is just a problem that the Blackhawks have in general. Looking at you, Connor Bedard, please just shoot the puck. Stop trying to force it to Tyler Bertuzzi. But I think again, that's something that players kind of grow out of in time. Like it's almost like you have to beat the junior hockey out of them because they all try to make like the perfect play when it's just like, just get it on net, boys. It'll probably go in more than you think. So, but yeah, tons to be excited about with Sam Rinzel. He's looking like the absolute steal of the 2022 draft, and I'm just so hyped for his future. I think he's gonna be probably our best defenseman this season, him or Vlasic. So, and then moving on to number one, we have Artem Levshinov. Levshinov, he came up at the end of the year, and there was enough. He showed enough that you're still very excited about him. There was some things that you don't like. There was some bad decision making, sometimes where he should have like been getting back, but he tried to pinch and vice versa and stuff like that. But the athleticism is clearly there. He does have a lot of offensive potential that I saw. I think he's going to be a great defenseman, probably a number one defenseman. And I really hope he is because, people otherwise they'll just shit on us for not taking Demidov, even though 2 other teams passed on him. But, that's another story for a different day. But yeah, I really like Artem Levshinov. I think he just needs a bit of time. You have to keep in mind with Levshinov, like he went from playing in Belarus to then playing in the USHL to then playing in the NCAA to then playing in the AHL and the NHL in the span of like 3 or 4 years. So he hasn't really had time to like settle down in any league or like any team or situation. Really, he's always been like on the move and stuff. So I think just being with a team, being in a system for more than like a year will definitely help out a lot next season. I think he'll definitely be more comfortable, and I think I'm very confident to say that he's probably the number one prospect still in the Blackhawks system. Alright, guys, and with all that being said, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, make sure to leave a like on the video, share it with your friends, subscribe, all the other good YouTube stuff that you're supposed to say at the end of a video. Uh, Again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any different opinions than mine, make sure to leave them in the comments. That's another thing I'm supposed to say. And I hope you have a good day wherever you're at, and goodbye.